So let's start to block in some of the lighter colours on the bottom part of the face, just so that we can start to see that lighting effect overall. The other brightest part of the painting is obviously down this side of the nose and the muzzle. So I want to start and get that blocked in. So I'm not using my pure white just yet. Just a little slither of grey 27, slightly yellowier than white, more yellow content. And I will come in with some white over the top of this as well. But this makes a good base for white, just to really have it glow. Again, just looking at how the fur changes direction as it comes around different features. And of course, the hairs right down on the nose are going to be much shorter. So I really just want to block this area in for now, and because it's been so much hit by sunlight, it doesn't show a lot of the individual texture of the hairs here, so I can afford to just block this area in a little more quickly. I also want to create the mouth before I start to add a lot of detail on the nose just up above. So this far side of the muzzle, just beside the nose, really important little area, and glowing quite blue. I'm going to go with the really strong colour of blue from the sky. And again, because we've got black behind this, now I can use my black pastel pencil just to start to shape this nose a little better from the other side. And at the same time I can do a little bit of work to this edge of the goat. But I just want to make sure that I've got the outline of this side of the nose nice. Again, it's that tricky 3/4 view that if you don't pay particular attention just to the shape of it over there, your face is always going to look a little off in the end. So probably one of the darkest areas in the painting, right over here behind the goat's face, tucked in the shadows. So I can afford to lean quite heavily here and really drag these hairs out over the background. That's quite a fun part to do this. I tend to hold the pencil a little more loosely, let it go a little more on its own to try and make the marks a bit more random. So just bringing a bit more of this sky blue into certain areas to enhance those white bits in shadow. I'll just spend a little minute trying to work the mouth area. Bringing in a little bit of pastel pencil just to get the shape of the lips. And also thinking about some of those little whisker holes. So just trying to pick out the far side of the chin. And a little bit of light just reflecting off the far lip. But I really don't want to go too bright on this side of the face. So I just want to work a bit more of this nose area, get around the mouth area a little more finished off. I think I'm probably just about over halfway on my time, maybe a little more. So I really want to get cracking on that eye very soon. That'll be next on my agenda. But maybe I can just get a little bit of this nose finished off before that. So you can see that point where the white on the bridge of the nose goes into shadow. And where it's in shadow, I'm trying to use more of this lovely sky blue. Just using the big stick to dot on some smaller marks, letting some of my earlier dark marks still shine through. And then of course on this side of the nose, where it's been hit by the light, it's much, much brighter. And again, just paying particular attention to this nostril on the other side, just making sure I've still got that nicely lined up. So now I can start to come in with some of the white down this side of the muzzle. You can see how much brighter the white is than the grey 27 that I already applied. Just bringing the hairs down over the lip a little bit. So bringing these marks around the corner onto the nose, just constantly looking at the photo reference for those little changes in the direction of the fur. And I can start to dot some of these marks a little further on up into the dark. So still letting my dark colours shine through. And let's take some pastel pencil and try and neaten this side of the face. So again, just dragging my white pigment out over the darker marks. You can see that you don't get as much strength of pigment from the pencil as you do from the soft pastels, but they are great for just tweaking things into place. And you will find that if you lean a little heavier, you will get more of a mark from the pencil. So remembering not to let the white pencil go onto this side of the face, otherwise we'll lose some of our lighting effect. So again, in with my little dots of blue on this side of the face. So the nose starts to take some shape now, maybe just a couple of little highlights here and there on it really help to bring it to life. And then of course we've got that lovely chin beard, and it's also glowing quite white on this side. I do love animals with a good beard. I'm a fan of a schnauzer as well. Such fun to paint. I also like painting beards on people, so maybe it's just beards in general that I like. But I do love goats. Not sure I would want to have any in my garden though, because they do eat absolutely everything, including the washing off your clothesline. And they're so sneaky, they like to escape a lot, so yeah, maybe better just to look at. So just picking up a bit of highlight on the side of the lip here, where it's catching a bit of light. And then as it recedes around the corner here, it gets a little bit duller. So I'll not go into too much detail on the bottom part of the chin here because I've still got to do this area behind it, and then I'll come in and do all of the extra hairs poking out over the edges. But just starting to pick out some little hairs that are poking out and catching the light there. So I really think it's time that I made a start on this eye. I can feel my time ticking away, so let's hope that I can crack out this eye in about 10 minutes and keep me on track. So just getting my outline again using the black Faber Castell. And also paying now some attention to how the fur behaves around the eye, as all of that's very important as well to the expression, especially if you're doing a dog portrait. Not just the eyeball and the fun reflections on the eye itself, but every little part around the eye has a part to play in their expression and in capturing a likeness. So not so important because I'm painting a goat and, well, no one really knows this goat, so it doesn't matter so much. So I can see a lot of purple tones in around the corners of the eyes. And even within this dark patch just above the eye. I can also see some of that lovely red earth in at the corners of the eyes. And it's quite a delicate job just to drop that into the corners without making too much of a mess. And into this little slither to the side of the eyeball. So now's the time to put those in before I get the eyeball done. Again, a little bit like working from your background to your foreground. Getting what's behind in there first. And just give all that a little rub into the paper. So now I just want to fill in the eyeball. And there are a few yellows in the set. So I just want to dab a little bit of one of the more vibrant yellows in there first. as it will dull down the more I work at it. Also a little bit of that light brown earth, so useful in fur, but also sometimes with these lighter coloured eyes. And I'm just going to add a little bit more vibrance in there as well. I will make use of some pastel pencil now though to just try and tweak the shape of this eyeball. It comes right down to the bottom of the eye socket here. And just paying particular attention to the overall shape of it, the way this line sweeps up towards the top. And eyes really are so much easier when you're not trying or bothering to get a likeness. I spend a lot of my time working on portraits, so it is quite a joy when you don't have to be too worried about it looking exactly right. So now I'll just use my pastel pencil here to mark in that unusual shaped pupil, almost like a dark letterbox. So this eye isn't particularly getting a lot of light shining on it, so there's not really a big reflection to go on it. But there are some lovely eyelashes just coming down over, which I will try to add in. So trying to angle very sharp point of this pastel just to drag a few little eyelashes. And sometimes bits like this just take a few goes until I get it looking how I want. That's starting to look a bit better now. So again, just re-darkening some of these darkest shadow areas around the eye. And let's start to add some more highlights now onto the rest of the face. And just before we move on to adding more highlights to the fur, let's just quickly add in this other eye on the other side. It's really just a hint of it. There's so little of it can be seen. And the main thing really at the top that lets us notice the eye is these eyelashes poking out. So we'll just add a little hint of those. And then just some other hairs, fine hairs, flicking out over the background, and you can rub those in a little bit just to make them more subtle. So really doing my best not to go into too much detail. Just trying to look for the blocks and the shapes and then choose my color values. So using grey 8, another one of my absolute favourites for adding some subtle highlight colours up this black area without making it too bright. If you use white for a lot of your highlights on the black, you're going to lose that depth and that richness. And just allowing the grey 8 to come over this side of the face a little bit. And I of course want to break up that black shadow area a little bit with some of my darkest purple. The extra highlights around these shadow areas should help them stand out more. So of course throughout the darkest bits of fur we can see some little glints here and there, and it's good to add those in sporadically just where the light's catching a little bit of shine on the fur. Really makes it look black and shiny. And we've got quite a lot of highlight just over on this side of the head where the sun's really catching it. So let's start to have a look at this area and start to move on to below the chin and work on some of that lovely beard. So I'll do another little bit of blocking in again, just to re-darken down here. And also along the bottom of the jawline here is a little bit darker. And of course, always coming back in to re-darken certain areas. As you work, you'll notice that some of your excess pastel dust can blow over these areas and make them seem a little bit dusty. So always come back in with your darkest values and really help heighten the contrast as you go. So let's have a look at this lovely beard area. I can see a lot of navy blue and purples coming down through the colours. So I'll lay those in first. Again, being on a time limit really makes me look for the important information and try to ignore everything else. And where this beard comes up in under the chin, it really is dark in there. And that's going to help my white chin stand out. So again, I'm not looking for absolutely every hair, just trying to get a sense of the way this curves around. And again, just trying to follow the flow of each of these hairs a little bit, just as it describes the shape of the side of the face. So whilst I'm not too worried about getting every exact hair in place, I want to get the overall flow of each area as it's describing the form underneath. And of course, as this dips around into the shadow here just next to the beard, picking up some of my blue colour. And then coming in with some white flecks through this, just where the light's catching this bit of hair. And of course I can come in with some pastel pencil, perhaps some white, just to drag some of these hairs down. And now that we've got something under the chin, I can also start to drag some of these hairs out. And you can see how the pastel pencil is great for that job. So now taking one of my lighter tones, a little piece of grey 27, start to add in some of the highlights on this bottom part of the face, just where it starts at that shadow line. So just little short marks, trying to suggest some of those highlighted hairs. So just trying to be a little bit more bold now with some of my marks. And continue some of these highlights down the body. And just adding another little bit of this lovely warm red earth. So I've just realised that I've made a bit of a mistake, and I've had the camera focused on the top part of the face while I've been doing some work on the bottom part here and also on the bottom part of the beard. So apologies that I left you in the dark there for a little while. Let's recap a little bit of what I've been doing on the bottom part of the body here. So on top of my black layer, I've just been adding in some more of this lovely red earth, because everywhere in the black fur that's been hit by the sunlight, we've got a lot of vibrance through the coat. So I've really just brushed some more of this red earth right across the bottom here that's in sunlight. And then for down this front section so far, I've been adding a little bit of the grey 8. Again, trying not to go too bright in my highlights on the black. So I'll have to try and edit around that as best I can for the tutorial. I hope that the guidance in the rest of the piece will help you create the beard area. So I haven't actually used all of the animal set colours in this piece, quite a limited range of them. And I'll add that at the beginning of the video so that you can see that even if you've got the animal set, sometimes you've got too many colours. So just continuing some of the grey 8 through the rest of the coat. And I also mentioned at the beginning, when I was blocking in this area, that I would lighten the photo later on just to have a look at what the fur is actually doing under here, as I don't want this to be an entirely solid black area. So just working from my photo reference that I've lightened a little bit in Photoshop, just to let me see what's actually going on in the darkest area. And also how I can start to bleed the black more into the sunlit area, soften those edges. But to lighten some of this area now, I'll bring in some of my nice dark purples. When I lighten the photo reference, I can see a lot more detail within this black dark area. And that's one way that a good painting can really enhance a photo reference, areas which are overexposed or not lit well enough. You can enhance those in your painting and bring out a lot more detail. So as suspected, in this area here just next to the face is particularly dark, so I'm going to leave that nice and dark. But just to continue to try and find some of the light as it does creep down the back a little bit. So I've been thrilled to see so many versions of my previous tutorials popping up on Facebook and on the Patreon page. Please do continue to share these if you have worked along. And I'm looking forward very much to seeing some of your goats. I'm betting that some of your goats will be far better than mine. I hope you can relax into a nice painting state. Unfortunately, I had some camera issues and technology dramas to deal with at the same time. So it's not always that relaxing to film a demo. So again, just starting to soften that edge with the black. So this part of the body really is quite complicated and I could spend a long time on it. I always try to dedicate as much time to painting the body of an animal as I do their face, so often it's tempting to just speed through this section and spend lots of your main time on the face or on the main features. I do try to avoid doing that because I like the rest of the fur on my animals to look just as detailed and nice. But there are some times when it's nice to leave our focus more on the face itself, and that's going to be my excuse for this piece. As I think I'll be coming up on my 2-hour limit pretty soon. Of course, you're more than welcome to spend much longer on this, try and take it into more detail. So again, like before, just using the pastel pencil to add some of the wispier hairs. You can also make use of a nice blue pastel pencil to drag some hairs out from the other side of the face. So it really isn't very highlighted on this side of the body. Not a huge contrast between the background and the goat. But still I can find some ways to just flick some little hairs out over the edges. Just picking out a few hairs down the front where the light's really catching. And maybe just a few stray hairs here and there to make them a little less neat. Again, some little hints of highlight on the rest of the coat. Again, this bottom part is barely worked, so I'm just trying to get in the bare minimum that will give us the effect. I think that's pretty close. And I just want to add some more detail to this ear, which I did intend to come back to. And just to add a little bit of vibrance back into the ear. So that is it, and I hope that you have enjoyed watching me create this lovely goat in soft pastel. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of your versions of this tutorial. I'll add links in the description below this video to any other videos of mine that I think might be helpful to you in tackling this. I'll also add some links to Jackson's art where you can purchase all of the materials that I've used. And as an affiliate of Jackson's art, when you make use of these links, I will get a small percentage from your purchase. This I put towards prizes for my patrons and also other art materials that I can experiment with and make more of these videos. So every little helps me too. Thanks again for watching. Please do subscribe on YouTube, and I hope to see you again very soon with another one of these paint along demos. Until next time, happy pasteling.